Welcome to Travel Talk Tuesday for November the 23rd, 2021. And when I woke up this morning and started working on my project today for Travel Talk Tuesday, the topic was down in the Amalfi Coast and visiting Naples and the National Archaeological Museum there. Well, after I got to working on some video, I decided I'm going to deal with the Amalfi Coast Drive because it's such a beautiful place and it's so fitting for us to be celebrating a really great time tonight on the week leading up to Thanksgiving here in the United States. So that's what my topic is for tonight. And I've stopped my video here because I wanted you to take a look at the map here that we've been using for the last few weeks. Because we're way down in the south of Italy on Naples, the area of Naples, and we visited the island of Ischia and Procida. And then we've come over here, we visited Sorrento. Last night we talked about Pompeii. And then this week we're going to the Amalfi Coast. So let this run a second and so I can regroup and get going. So the Amalfi Coast is just across the peninsula from Sorrento, and there's several villages: Positano, Amalfi, and Ravello. Hey, David McGuffin here. Today I am in Positano on the Amalfi Coast. I hope you enjoy this look around and drive around the Amalfi Coast Drive, way down here on the Bay of Salarno. It's pretty amazing, the sun shining right here in my eyes. This is a great time of day in the morning, about 11 o'clock in the morning. We see the famous church dome of Positano. And you can see this town, just like many of the other seaside towns, is set where a river dumps into the sea. I hope you enjoy the look around Positano and the Amalfi Coast. This is the beach of Positano. Fine sand, and I would imagine in the summertime that it is filled with sunbathers, but you can see Positano falls into the sea from the high mountaintops. Now the Amalfi Coast Drive is basically way up here in this area, and I can tell you what, just based on the little drive down into Positano with our driver today that we've hired, I would not want to be driving here myself. But I hope you enjoyed the look around Positano and the rest of the day in the Amalfi Coast. Let me pause it there for just a minute because it's important to say that the previous times that I have been to the Amalfi Coast, I've been actually driving some sort of vehicle, whether it be from coming from the north down to Salerno, so leaving in maybe Sorrento down to Salerno, or whether coming from Salerno in the south and coming up. And my gosh, that road is very harrowing to drive. And me as a driver have not had a whole lot of opportunity to look, and I certainly have not had the opportunity to drive down to the village here of Positano. So I got smart finally the last time I was there, just last month, and we hired a driver and a guide for the day. It was maybe 120, 130 euro. And there was 7 of us in a Mercedes van. And so we hired him to take us and drive up and down the Amalfi Coast. And so this is the very first time I've ever been here to this beach here in Positano town. It's pretty swanky and pretty expensive as well. I checked out the hotel rooms down here in this area, about 220 euro a night. Drink here is 20 euro for an aperitivo at this little bar right there on the beach. But look at the view, you know. The coastal road is way up there at the top of the hill. This is in the church, Chiesa Santa Maria Assunta, and it is a fantastic place, a beautiful organ that was up here behind us in the balcony and built in the time of the Renaissance, but redecorated in the Baroque style in the 1600s. And you may have noticed that all the domes of churches I'm going to show are filled with ceramic tile, because that's a huge thing down here in the Amalfi Coast. This is a pedestrian walkway from the main parking lot up in town. You can see that it's covered with grapevines, because I can imagine that in the summertime it would be very, very hot in these little walkways, but yet the shade provides a lot of comfort for tourists, for artisans that are selling their wares. And you can see there's not so many tourists. This is up the top of the down where everybody parks. Hey, David McGuffin here in my kitchen at home here in Middleburg, Florida. This afternoon I'm making some pizza dough. Thanks to my friends at Podera Marcampo. Here, I got their apron on, in Volterra, Italy. This is their recipe they use for pizza dough. So it's pretty simple. We don't have the exact kind of flour that they have in Italy, but this works pretty good. This bread flour, you notice that it is high in gluten. It has 12.7% gluten. And then I also have all-purpose flour. Notice that's a little less, 11.7% gluten. The other ingredients are basically some yeast. So this is Fleischmann's yeast, and this is actually instant yeast. So you don't have to mix it in water before you use it. You can pour it in with the dry ingredients. And then also just some warm water. I have my measurements say 1 cup, 0.7 ounces, or 1 cup, 0.7 of water. It comes out to be about 13 ounces or so of water. As I slowly pour the water in here, I'll let it all incorporate into one element. It's pretty easy. And then when it start wrapping itself up the dough hook, I'm going to pull it back down, let it go for about another minute, and then let it rest. So once that's done, I put a little all-purpose flour on top of it, and I'm going to cover it with a towel and set it aside in the dry kitchen for about 2 hours, and then come back and knead it, and it'll be ready to work for my pizza. So I began by pushing the dough down into a small circle, maybe 10 inches in diameter or so. I like the crust, not like thick crust like we would get here at home at the pizzerias that we would go to, but a little bit thinner than that. And with this flour that I used, until the gluten loses some of this elasticity, and then you roll it again. So I'm going to let it rest like this for a couple of 3 minutes, and then come back and roll it again. Okay, everything's rested here for about 4 or 5 minutes. I'll give it the final. I can transfer this to my pizza board. You might have been able to see that. I just picked it up and put it there. Hey, I was supposed to get rid of that little voiceover. That's much better than Alvin and the Chipmunks. So you see what I put on there, yellow bell pepper, tomato sauce,
and pop it in the oven for
mozzarella
about 8 to
cheese,
10 minutes, and it's
onion,
ready to go.
pepperoni, and mushrooms.
Okay, so I think the pizza's done. Coming out of the oven. As a matter of fact, I left it in here a minute too long. Here we go, we have it. It looks pretty good, actually.
Hey, listen, thank you guys for, again, joining in. And part of the conversation tonight is to talk a little bit about what it's been like to travel in this year, 2021, with a COVID-19 pandemic, hopefully waning and then resurfacing, waning again, resurfacing, and all of the hoops and everything that you have to jump through in order to do that. And some of you tonight, I know, have traveled with me to Europe, to various places during this year. And then some of you have traveled here in the United States. So I want to jump in right now. We have Kent Giles, who was with me. He and his wife, Celeste, were with me in Italy just gosh, I think basically it was just last month, the first part of October.
Yeah. We flew.
And so Kent, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for inviting me to talk a little.
Yeah, do you remember this photo I took of you there on the gondola there in Venice?
I sure do. Celeste looks better than I do. I look all.
We always have to say that as husbands, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that
that's
was
great.
a gondola ride because there was nobody else out there, trying to get gondolas. We felt like we had the canals to ourselves.
Yeah. Do you recall that I took you to a place that I thought, well, gosh, for sure there will be a gondolier here, and there were none. So we had to go to a couple of different places to find a gondolier. And I kept saying, hey, listen, the best time to go is in the dusk or in the later evening. And you guys were kind of saying, oh, well, we didn't make it, we couldn't do it. But finally, we found somebody. And tell us about your experience.
Yeah, it was great because this fellow came running out of a store to tell us, I have.
Oh, wait a minute. It wasn't really a store. I think it was a bar.
A bar. Okay. Yeah, he came out of the bar, I guess, and told us, wait a second, I have a colleague who can help you. And we climbed in, and David is right. Celeste and I were about ready to give up and go find some dinner, but he persevered, and so we wound up. We caught this. We started out on the Grand Canal, but then he took us back into some smaller neighborhood canals, and we were riding right past people's windows. And the gondolier was very good. He gave us lots of information and answered our questions. And it exceeded my expectations. I had thought, well, maybe this will be kind of a touristy thing,
Right?
but no, this was one of the highlights of the trip.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and my experience was the same as well, because I was in Venice with my family in July, and similar experience in that there was very few tourists, and the gondoliers were just happy to see someone show up and give them the money to go on the ride. And we had two chatty gondoliers who we never have chatty gondoliers, back in the day when you're really floating down the canal with 500 other tourists. But we just had a great time as well. And so if you're looking to go to Europe, you really need to jump in and go, because this is the time, I think, to travel, because not a whole lot of people are showing up there. Kent, tell us what kind of hoops you had to jump through to get to Italy to start with. We met in Rome. What'd you have to do to get there?
Right. Well, fortunately, our transatlantic flight went smoothly. We had a short layover in New York in JFK Airport. Um, Delta did change our flight plans on us a week ahead of time, so we had to get that straightened out. But yeah, once we landed, and we did come a day early and stay in a hotel in Trastevere for a night. But of course, we did have to do a COVID test within the 3 days before we flew. But you know, that was not a big deal for us. We had a local place that was very quick and easy.
Right.
Of course,
Now, you guys did the Best of Italy tour with us, and so we started in Rome. We, we met with Julia, and she did a tour with you guys in the Vatican Museum.
right.
And, right, isn't that right?
Yep. And first day we went to the Forum and the Colosseum.
Oh, yeah.
And that was
And
amazing.
you had kind of a shady guy, David McGuffin, lead you through the Forum, right? Yeah.
And this was the first time in Italy for both Celeste and myself. So we were just, kind of open jawed.
Right, right. So Rome's kind of hectic, but if you get 2 days there and you see all that, you see the Vatican Museum, St. Peter's Cathedral, the Forum, all of that stuff. We then went to the Cinque Terre. What was your experience there?
That was amazing. I had never heard of the Cinque Terre before I read about your tour, and it was just so relaxed and beautiful. We enjoyed the trail, walking to the next town, Vernazza. We enjoyed the easy train travel between towns. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life. And again, only a few Americans there. We chatted with a couple, but we never felt overcrowded. That was very nice.
Right. Yeah. And then from there, the Best of Italy tour goes to Tuscany for about 5 days or so. So a couple of days in Volterra, a day in Siena, and then 6 days. So then another day, 2 days in Florence.
Right.
So what's your experience there?
Oh, well, Volterra, classic hill town in Tuscany, so beautiful. We enjoyed the tour that we got there too.
That was with Annie there.
Right. I was trying to think of her name.
Yep, Annie.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, I smiled when I saw your Podere de Campere apron, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Podere Macampo.
Okay. Yes, our wine tasting was amazing there.
Oh, that's right, because we stopped by the vineyards there at Marcampo
Right.
on the way into town.
Right.
With Claudia.
Right. And then of course, the dinner at Ristorante del Duca, very memorable.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Oh yes, yes, amazing steak, amazing pasta. That was maybe the best meal of the entire trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, we fell in love with Volterra, no doubt about that.
Yeah. This tour, the Best of Italy, stays one night in Siena as well, which I don't do in it. I do in the Essence of Italy and the Best of Italy, but staying one night in Siena is kind of cool because you didn't really get to experience tourist crowds because there were none at the time we were traveling post-COVID and the pandemic and everything else. But normally the tourist crowds kind of thin out, and then we have the entire town to ourselves. But really, we had the entire town to ourselves the entire time we were there, right?
Right, right. I remember going down to the Campo, and there was a flag twirling competition that we got to witness.
Yeah, so the contradas there, the neighborhoods there are 21 neighborhoods and in Siena, and they all have a very just an allegiance to their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they have different names like the caterpillar and the eagle and the rhinoceros, the hedgehog, you name it.
Yeah.
And so they were having this, as a band director, back in the day, a color guard competition with who can throw the flag and catch it and all of that. And so that was pretty cool that we just happened upon that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kent, tell me about what did you experience on the entire tour that maybe was you had to jump through some hoops or show proof of vaccinations or anything is related to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Right, right. I felt like I was always reaching into my money belt. Because that's where I kept my CDC card. They call it the
Right.
green card
Correct.
in Italy. But yes, you had to show proof of vaccination. As you know, to go into any museum, any basilica. If we happened to eat indoors, you were supposed to show it. I'm not sure they asked for it every place, but fortunately, we were able to eat outdoors. I think the large majority of our meals,
Right.
which we loved.
Yeah, of course.
So pleasant for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then we ended up, we went to Venice and then went to Lake Como. We
Yes.
ended up in Milan. And then one thing that is consistent with traveling to Europe, no matter whether you're vaccinated or not, is that in order to come back to the United States, we have to take a test, COVID-19 test, and show proof that we're COVID negative before we return home. So tell me about your experience there.
Right. You helped us locate the pharmacy in the train station, the Milano Centrale. And we set up the appointment online for the next day and came back. And I guess we were in and out of there in less than an hour. And we were in line with people from all over Italy and Europe, I think, getting our tests so that we could fly out the next day. So, that worked very well for us.
Yeah. Well, so all in all, the experience of going to Italy and traveling there in September and October, as long as you're vaccinated, do you feel that it was worth the trip across the pond to be a part of that?
Yes, it was, because Italy is Italy. Italy is amazing. And we got there at a time when the crowds were so much lower than what we have heard of. Both you and Julia and Annie, told us several times over and over, you should see the crowds here in normal times.
Yeah.
So it was so nice to be able to walk through, say, the Sistine Chapel and not be crowded elbow to elbow and to be able to enjoy it a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. Julia and I shared it with you, you and Celeste, that, you can't imagine what it's really like in the height of tourist season, back in 2019 and 18, what it was like. But we had free roam in the Sistine Chapel. There was nobody within 6 or 8 feet of us. We could stand there and gaze up at Michelangelo's frescoes as long as we wanted to without any problem. And gosh, I just recall walking in that huge long passageway upstairs before you even got to the Sistine Chapel, where all the maps are.
Right.
And normally it's shoulder to shoulder, and you can't even stop and look and say, oh, look, well, there's Tuscany, there's Venice or whatever, because you just got to keep going. But the last 2 times we've been there in July and in October was fantastic. So again, I want to reiterate, and I know you are too, Kent, is that if you can get a chance to go in these times, even though you have to jump through pandemic hoops and take tests and everything else, this is a great time to go and experience Italy and Europe.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Yeah. Okay, Kent, thank you so much. I'm gonna transfer now over to Nancy, who Nancy Snow has been a friend for many, many years. And she's done a whole lot of traveling. She went to Greece with me earlier this summer in July, or maybe it was June. I can't remember when, but she does a whole lot of travel. Every time I look at her post on Facebook, she's somewhere else. So Nancy, share with us a little bit about what you've done and how COVID-19 has not affected your travel plans at all.
Well, all I could think about when Kent was talking about how there was no one in Italy, everyone was in the United States visiting every place I was, because it has been so crowded, all of the places we've been.
Wow.
From state parks to cabins, camping, every place has been packed. And we talked to the people there about the pandemic, and most of the things we do are outside, and they say that it never slowed down. That the cabins, the campgrounds and everything were busy all through COVID and are continuing to stay busy. Every time we go to rent something, they're all booked. So people are taking advantage in the United States of being outside. But like David said, in June, we went to Greece right when everything opened back up. And I posted pictures of the Acropolis and things like that. And people's comments were, where is everybody? Because we were the only ones there. And that was nice to be able to be the only ones there. But it was worth it. I don't know that in June I would have traveled to Europe without David. We all kept saying, thank goodness he's here, because he showed us the direction to do for the COVID test, for the everything we needed. And that was a little scary at first, but it was easy to do. Once, he got the pharmacist to do the COVID test and everything, we were fine with it. But yeah, I wouldn't have done it by myself. Now, maybe that things are getting more, everybody knows what they're doing more. I mean, we didn't know. We had way too much paperwork that we took over there because David didn't know at the time what we needed. So I would feel more comfortable now, I think, going over there. But in June, it was just nice having him lead us in the right direction. But locally, Florida, Georgia, I've gone out west, all over the place. The only thing is a mask on the plane, and national parks. You have to wear a mask. But other than that, it's kind of back to whatever normal would be.
So Nancy, when you're like in the national parks, if you're outside, do you have to wear a mask?
No, national parks, in every restaurant, gift shop, any inside building.
Okay.
You do see people in the national parks with masks on because, but it's just outside in the national parks, right?
Yeah.
But it's the only thing is masks on a plane, which makes me think maybe we should have been doing it all along. Maybe I don't know that I'll ever stop that, because it's a sense of security, I think, on the plane with the mask on. But it's not stopped. I've got a group of people I travel with here in the United States. And my first trip was in June when COVID hit in March. And I took my grandson out west, and you couldn't get out of your car to pump gas without a mask on.
So that's June 2020, right?
Right.
Wow.
And so much has changed because I was just back out there and it's not that bad. But like, I started right away traveling and haven't stopped yet. But was with David in Greece for, was it 18 days this summer?
Yeah, you did 2 trips back to back.
And the first tour, there was no one at the Acropolis, but things were opening up. And the second tour, there were more people there. So you could tell it was, people were starting to visit. So it was nice.
Tell them a little bit about your experience on Santorini, because that's something new that I have just included and made it compulsory on my tours. that we go there for 3 nights to Santorini.
Yeah, so the first thing is I thought Santorini was the white building with blue tops. I thought that was that,
Yeah.
but the whole island is Santorini. It was amazing. The entire island was, from the old cities. We walked on a volcano. That was the group with kids. We watched the sunset over Ia. Is it Ia? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Yes, watched the sunset over there. Just every bit of that island was amazing. We got up every morning to watch the sunrise and just swam, and it was relaxing, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. When you travel with Nancy, she's kind of a, I don't know, maybe not a slave driver, but she makes you feel guilty if you don't get up early in the morning to see the sunrise and stay up late to see the sunset and get the entire experience of the day. And I can tell you what, she's a great motivator. And whether you're traveling with her in Europe or traveling with her in the United States, she's got a good following of people who love to go out and experience the nature and, get out, do some hiking, some walking, and everything else. Where are you now, Nancy?
I am in Michigan now at my sister's house for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And my next trip, I'm not sure where the next trip is. But,
Well, it's good to be retired and you can go wherever you want to go, right?
yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, well, thank you for dropping in. I know you're here frequently on Travel Talk Tuesday, but thank you for contributing to a little bit tonight. I think also, Ramona, we've experienced this Amalfi Coast in Italy together as well. But I think you told me you were recently on a Mississippi River cruise. What about that?
Good to see you too, David. And like I said, it started out in Memphis, Tennessee. We were all there one night early. Everyone was tested for COVID. And to best of my knowledge, everybody was negative. If you didn't test negative, you did not go on the cruise whatsoever. Once we were on the boat, no masks were required on board. It was a smaller boat, of course, and it was not filled to capacity. They were not allowed to fill to capacity, number one. I think there were about 170 people. It was not even filled to the possible what they could have. So basically, there were not that many people traveling on the trip at all. But it was an interesting trip. A couple of my favorite parts of it were at the Vicksburg, where the Battle of Vicksburg was held. It was like a 38-mile drive to a big park, which I was surprised how much was devoted to it. And it was a very interesting tour. And the landscape is very interesting. As all goes up and down, you can see where they could lie on the ground and shoot from there.
Yeah.
And my other favorite part of it was that the last part, which we ended up in down in the bayou of the Mississippi River, sort of out, I guess you would say, slightly west of New Orleans, which is just out in the swamps. But of course, it was all wet and everything. We saw a lot of the damage from the hurricane that went through the end of August there. But it's real wilderness, that's for sure. And it was an interesting trip, but not.
So how many days
not the greatest
was
trip
that?
I
How
ever
many
had.
nights was that, Ramona?
Pardon? What?
How many nights was that trip?
It was 7 nights.
So Memphis down
Week
to,
trip. Well, actually, it was 8 nights. But first night in the hotel in
where did it end up?
New Orleans.
And New Orleans, okay.
When I got to New Orleans, I went directly to the airport.
Yeah, was it like one of these, I always think about the, big paddle wheel boat type thing.
Yes, that's what it is.
Really? Okay, cool. So if you don't want
did
to go
another
too
one.
far, that's a great experience as well.
And actually earlier in the summer, which I took my family to Lake Tahoe for a week. Of course, that was no tour. It was just on our own.
Right.
But we had a great time. And we did do a long day trip over to Yosemite National Park. It was a 16-hour day.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
But it was well worth it. You could always rest up the next day. But the kids had a great time. We did boat cruise on Lake Tahoe. They had a great time just jumping out into the water and whitewater rafting on the Truckee River. First, we were there the end of June. Came home, I think, on the 3rd of July, which was long before the fires all started.
Sure.
But Yosemite was something I always wanted to see. So
Right. Well, you're a world traveler. I
and
know
there
we
was no
talked,
restrictions,
and-
of course, except on the plane. There was no restrictions on mask any place there. Now, when we
Right.
were on the river cruise, no restrictions on the boat. But when we went out on land tours, they did require us to wear masks.
I see. Okay. But no COVID testing or anything except on the river cruise.
Yes, no, when we went to Lake Tahoe, we were strictly on our own.
Okay.
And there was no restrictions with flying or anything. You wore your mask when you flew, of course, but other than that, there was nothing.
Yeah. Anybody else watching right now on Zoom or even on Facebook, if you want to text or whatever, want to chip in with any additional information about your travels or what experiences you've had in the past, 20 months now about getting around and dealing with COVID-19 and the pandemic and jumping through all the hoops?
Well, I would say in 2020, I rented the kids each condos on Siesta Key. It was on Siesta Key at Crescent Beach, which is just south of the public beach. And so we were back and forth, and so they had a great time there.
Yeah, I think those of us who, and I think all of us that are watching tonight, have are yearning to get out and go explore. And I've even made it happen even early on in the pandemic. Things were shut down for me and my tours in March of 2020, but we got out, even if it was just going 45 minutes to St. Augustine and spending a night or something, or making that quick trip to Miami to pick up supplies, building supplies for something I was dealing with at home. Just trying to get out and go, because we love home, but you can't just stay home all the time, because you become a hermit and you don't know what's outside your world if you're just at home. And so once you get out, no matter how far away it is, you get another perception of the culture and the environment and the way of life of the people that you interact with. And that's why I have for years and years and years promoted exploring Europe, or exploring anywhere we can go in these times. I'm going to move on here. Nancy, I guess that's a small little picture of you being, evidently it's got to be in Texas, because there's a star there. So here we go with the Amalfi Coast Drive. What did you say? This was a wheelchair with a roof?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't fit in there.
I'm sure you don't.
I got long legs. But those
Even
cars
when
is good if
when you
know
drove
how to-
through I was with you when you drove through Amalfi Coast. Was that your first trip?
Hey, David McGuffin here. I am on the Amalfi Coast in the town of Amalfi, and I'm inviting you to join me tonight for Travel Talk Tuesday, where I'll... So, Ramona, I think you chipped in and saying about my first trip.
This was when we were over to the boot camp.
I don't remember what year that was. Was it 17 or something? You and Katie and I. Remember we went to Salerno, which is south of here, and we went to that Buffalo Mozzarella farm.
Right.
Yeah, and then remember I drove this whole drive all the way up to Sorrento on one day. And
you
so
were
that was the
exhausted.
last time, and I decided I'm not going to drive this thing again, because I want to see everything. So I hired a driver to do that this time.
It's a beautiful drive.
Yeah, oh, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about my brand new tour itinerary, the Amalfi Coast and the islands. Hope you'll join me from the town of Amalfi. That's Travel Talk Tuesday tonight. Check out all the details at davidmcguffin.com/TTT for Travel Talk Tuesday. And join me 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time tonight on Tuesday. Hey,
Can you believe
Until
I had
then,
the
I'll
forethought
see
to
ya.
do that?
Ciao from Amalfi Coast.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you. So this is the town of Amalfi. And it basically is like any other little town that is on the seaside of the Mediterranean coast. The town builds up around a river, the river spilling down into the sea, and the town builds up around it. Then in the late 19th
This is a real
century,
local shop here, the fruit and vegetable shop. The locals queued up to go in for their daily groceries. And then just across the street is a tourist shop.
Then in the late 19th, 20th century, the river is paved over with street, with the river running below it. And here we go with the fish shop, the vegetable shop, one little alleyway that's built for pedestrians, but with a one-way traffic signal that lets traffic come one way, and then the red light on the other end, the traffic comes from the other direction. This is called a presepe, actually a little nativity scene. Then these are all over the villages down there in southern Italy. I want to just show that older gentleman. Normally he would be chatting up with his buddies, but he's looking at his mobile phone.
So we're cruising on the Bay of Salarno, just on the Amalfi Coast Drive is up here behind us. We've come from the town of Amalfi behind us, maybe 30 minutes, and then we're turned around and heading back. I'm told that this is some of the most beautiful scenery on the Amalfi Coast. The villa here behind me, let me put one over here, is the villa of Sophia Loren. We'll look at that a little bit more in detail. But now we're heading back to the south on this boat. It's a great opportunity to get on the water and see this Amalfi Drive from a different perspective.
My first ever experience being on the water here. I can recommend it very much. See, it's very, very rocky. Unlike the Chupacabra, which is all basically lush green hills coming into the sea, this has this brown all over the place. Again, just kind of looking up, we went to the village here of Ravello, which is way up the hill. And I was privileged to go here some years back with a friend of mine, John, and his daughter, Courtney, was getting married here in Ravello. And I went here for 3 or 4 days. I accompanied them there and participated in a marriage ceremony. It's fantastic. It's a very uppity place, costs a lot of money, but you can see that just right here, these little shops are traditional ceramic shops, just like you see all over the Amalfi Coast. This is the only hilltop town we visited, Ravello, with great sweeping views of the Bay of Salarno.
That's just an amazing vista right there. One little pass through back to our van of the day. That was the whole day, a 10-hour tour of the Amalfi Coast with a driver. I was currently looking at hiring a driver with a handful of tours and the rental. So I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for the rough start earlier, but I hope you could hear me and I hope you enjoyed our Travel Talk Tuesday for tonight. We're gonna pop these little pizzas in the oven here right now and have our dinner, but I appreciate you guys joining us. Next week, we will talk about Naples and the National Archaeological Museum. But until then, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving with your family. Be thankful for what you have, your life, for your family, and for everything else. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll catch you next Tuesday night as we talk about Naples and the museum there. Okay? Thanks. Bye-bye.